The warning alarm screamed through the Kravith Empire's border station. Commander Velthar's four eyes widened as he stared at the sensor display. Something massive had just appeared in their space, and it didn't match anything in the galactic database. "Report," Velthar barked at his crew. "Unknown vessel, Commander. It's enormous. Energy readings are off our scales." The sensor officer's tentacles trembled as he spoke. On the main screen, the ship materialized fully. It was like nothing the Kravith had ever seen. Where their ships were smooth and organic-looking, this vessel was all hard angles and brutal efficiency. It was colored dark gray, almost black, with strange symbols painted on its hull. The ship bristled with weapons ports and what looked like armor plating thick enough to stop a star. "Size estimate?" Velthar demanded. 2 kilometers long, Commander. Mass readings suggest extremely dense construction. "It's a warship, no doubt about it." Velthar felt his blood run cold. The Kravith Empire was the dominant military power in this sector. No one challenged them. Who were these newcomers? Inside the human battleship KRSF Taijo, Captain Lee Hanbin sat in his command chair and studied the alien vessels approaching his ship. There were 6 of them, sleek and fast, moving in a standard intercept formation. Hanbin had seen the pattern before in Earth's military academies. "These aliens knew how to fight. Distance?" he asked calmly. 50,000 kilometers and closing, Captain," Lieutenant Park Mina reported from the navigation station. She was young, barely 25, but her mind worked faster than the ship's computers. "They're trying to surround us." "Let them," Hanbin said. He was 42, with gray starting to show at his temples. His face was weathered from years of service, first in Earth's corporate wars and now out here among the stars. "Mina, full sensor sweep. I want to know everything about those ships." In the engineering section, deep in the ship's belly, Chief Engineer Choi Do-yoon was having the time of his life. The reactor was purring like a content cat, producing more power than any ship in human history. Do-yoon was 56 and had been working on fusion reactors since before Mina was born. This ship was his masterpiece. "Engineering to bridge," he called out. "Captain, I'm seeing some interesting energy signatures from those alien ships. Their power systems are primitive compared to ours. Maybe 50 years behind our tech." On the bridge, Ambassador Kang Sora stood near the captain's chair. She was dressed in formal diplomatic robes, her expression calm despite the tension. Sora was 38 and had negotiated peace treaties between Earth's major powers. She had volunteered for this mission, hoping to make first contact with alien species. She just hadn't expected it to be quite this dramatic. "Captain, perhaps I should attempt communication," she suggested. "Not yet," Hanbin said. "Let's see what they want first." The answer came seconds later. A harsh, clicking voice filled the bridge, translated by the ship's AI. "Unknown vessel, this is Commander Velthar of the Kravith Empire. You have entered restricted space. Identify yourself immediately and prepare to be boarded for inspection." Hanbin exchanged a glance with Sora. The ambassador shook her head slightly. The tone was all wrong, too aggressive, too demanding. "Open a channel," Hanbin ordered. "Channel open, Captain." "Commander Velthar, this is Captain Lee Hanbin of the Terran ship Taijo. We come in peace and mean no harm. We did not know this space was claimed. However, we will not be boarded. We are willing to discuss this situation as equals." There was a long pause. Then Velthar's voice came back, even harsher than before. "Equals? You are one ship in our territory. You will comply or be destroyed. This is your final warning." Mina looked back at the captain, her eyes wide. "Sir, they're charging weapons." Hanbin's jaw tightened. Humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment, the day they would meet other intelligent species. They had hoped for friendship. They had prepared for war, shields to maximum, weapons to stand by. "Do not fire unless fired upon." The Kravith ships moved closer, forming a tight net around the Taijo. On the border station, Velthar watched the human ship with growing frustration. It hadn't moved, hadn't powered weapons, hadn't done anything. It just sat there like a silent mountain in space. "Fire warning shots," Velthar ordered. "Show them we're serious." 3 of his destroyers opened fire, sending bright plasma bolts streaking toward the human ship. The shots were carefully aimed to miss, passing within a few hundred meters of the Taijo's hull. What happened next shocked every Kravith in the system. The Taijo's point defense systems activated. Small turrets across the ship's hull tracked the incoming plasma bolts with perfect precision. Streams of super-accelerated projectiles reached out and intercepted every single shot, vaporizing them in brilliant flashes of light. What in the void was that? Velthar whispered. On the Tejo's bridge, Hanbin's expression hardened. They fired on us. Warning shots, Captain, Sora said quickly. They're trying to intimidate us. And if we do nothing, they'll think we're weak, Hanbin replied. Then they'll fire for real. He was right. On the destroyer closest to the Tejo, a young and ambitious captain named Dreth saw the human ship's defensive action as a challenge. Without waiting for orders from Velthar, he targeted the Tejo's hull and fired his main plasma cannon at full power. The bolt struck the Tejo's shields and dissipated harmlessly, like rain on stone. Captain, we've taken fire, Mina reported, her voice sharp. Shields holding at 98%. Barely felt it. Hanbin stood up from his chair. That's enough. Target that destroyer's engines and weapons. Railgun single shot minimum power, sir. The weapons officer, Lieutenant Onari, looked uncertain. Do it. Nari's fingers flew across her console. The Tejo's main railgun, a weapon that could accelerate a slug of metal to a significant fraction of light speed, aimed at the Kravith destroyer. The shot was fired at only 10% power. It was still devastating. The projectile crossed the distance in an eye blink and struck the destroyer's engine section. The alien ship's shields might as well have been made of paper. The railgun slug punched through them, through the armor and through the ship itself, exiting out the other side. The destroyer tumbled away, trailing atmosphere and debris, its engines dead and weapons offline. Target the 2 destroyers flanking us, Hanbin ordered, his voice cold and calm. Same parameters, 2 more shots. 2 more crippled ships. The remaining 3 Kravith vessels broke formation and retreated at maximum speed. On the border station, Velthar stared at his screens in horror. 3 of his best destroyers had been disabled in less than 10 seconds. The human ship hadn't even used its full power. He could see dozens more weapon ports along its hull, all still dormant. Get me the High Council, Velthar said, his voice shaking. Now. Aboard the Tejo, Hanbin sat back down in his chair. Broadcast on all frequencies. Use every language in our database. Sora stepped forward and began to speak, her voice steady and clear. To all who can hear this message, humanity seeks dialogue, not conquest. We come from a world called Earth. We wish to meet other species as friends, but we will not be threatened. We will not be attacked. If you come in peace, we welcome you. If you come with violence, we will defend ourselves. The choice is yours. The message repeated in 50 different languages spreading across the sector. In the Kravith High Council chamber 12 hours later, emergency session was called. Every council member watched the battle footage in silence. They saw the human ship's effortless victory. They saw technology far beyond their own. And they saw the message of peace that followed the violence. How many more ships do they have? One counselor asked. We don't know, Velthar reported. They appeared from nowhere. For all we know, there could be hundreds of them. Or thousands, another counselor added quietly. The council chamber fell silent again. The Kravith Empire, rulers of 70 star systems, suddenly felt very small and very vulnerable. Far away on Earth, the Tejo's report arrived via quantum communication. Humanity's leaders read it and began preparing. First contact had not gone as hoped, but it had gone as planned. The galaxy now knew humanity existed. The galaxy now knew humanity could fight. What the galaxy didn't know yet was that 11 more ships like the Tejo were already being prepared for launch. And humanity was just getting started. 3 weeks had passed since the incident at the border. The news had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. A new species had arrived, and they had technology that made the Kravith Empire look primitive. Every major power wanted to know more about these humans. The Galactic Council Station hung in neutral space, a massive ring-shaped structure where representatives from 40 different species met to settle disputes and make laws. It had kept the peace for 200 years. Now it faced its biggest challenge yet. Ambassador Kang Sora stood in the shuttle bay of the Tejo, adjusting her formal robes one last time. She was about to meet with the council, to speak for all of humanity. The weight of that responsibility pressed down on her shoulders. Ambassador, are you ready? Lieutenant Kim Ji-won asked. The Marine was tall and solid, her uniform crisp and perfect. She commanded the security team that would escort Sora to the station. Ji-won was 32 and had served in some of Earth's toughest military operations. She took her duty to protect the ambassador very seriously. As ready as I'll ever be, Sora replied with a slight smile. Dr. Yoon Hajin joined them, carrying a data pad full of information about human biology and culture. The xenobiologist was excited beyond words. At 45, he had spent his entire career dreaming about meeting alien species. Now he was about to see dozens of them in person. "Remember," Captain Hanbin said as he saw them off, "you're not there to apologize. We defended ourselves. Make sure they understand that." Sora nodded and boarded the shuttle with her team. The council chamber was enormous. Sora walked in flanked by Ji-won and 4 other Marines, all in dress uniforms. Dr. Hajin followed behind, his eyes wide as he tried to take in all the different alien species around them. The chamber was circular, with raised platforms for each species representative. In the center was a speaking platform where Sora now stood. Above her, holographic displays showed her image to all the counselors. Counselor Thex, the moderator, spoke first. He was from the Pelthon Collective, an insectoid species known for their fairness and logic. His translation device made his clicking mandibles sound like calm, measured words. "Ambassador Sora of Earth, you stand before the Galactic Council to explain your species' actions. The Kravith Empire claims you attacked their vessels without provocation. How do you respond?" Sora took a deep breath and began. "Counselor Thex, members of the Council, I thank you for hearing us. The facts are simple. Our ship, the Taejo, entered what we did not know was Kravith space. We had no maps, no knowledge of territorial boundaries. When we were challenged, we offered peaceful dialogue. The Kravith refused and fired upon us. Only then did we defend ourselves." A voice boomed across the chamber. "Lies." High Admiral Cross of the Kravith stood on his platform, his 4 eyes blazing with anger. "You entered our space with a warship. A massive warship with weapons beyond anything we have seen. That is not the action of peaceful explorers." Sora remained calm. "High Admiral, I understand your concern. Yes, the Taejo is a warship. But let me tell you why we built such ships." She gestured to Dr. Hajin, who activated a holographic display showing Earth's history. Images of war, destruction, and finally peace filled the chamber. "Humanity nearly destroyed itself," Sora continued. "We fought wars that killed billions. We built weapons that could burn our world to ash. We came very close to extinction. But we survived. We learned. We united under a single government, not through conquest, but through the shared understanding that we had to change or die." The images shifted, showing Earth's cities, its green forests, its blue oceans. "When we developed faster-than-light travel, we knew we would eventually meet other species. We hoped those species would be peaceful. But we remembered our own history. We remembered how first contact between human nations often led to war. So we prepared. We built ships strong enough to defend ourselves, but came with open hands, not closed fists." "Noble words," Cross sneered. "But words are cheap. You disabled 3 of our destroyers in seconds. That demonstrates hostile intent." "It demonstrates capability," Sora corrected, "and restraint. We could have destroyed those ships. We could have killed their crews. We did not. We stopped them from attacking us further. Then we offered medical assistance to the injured. Some of your sailors are still in our medical bay, receiving treatment better than what your own doctors could provide." That caused a stir among the counselors. Cross's face darkened, but he had no response. Counselor Thex spoke again. "Ambassador Sora, you mentioned the Taejo is one of your warships. How many such vessels does humanity possess?" This was the question everyone wanted answered. Sora had discussed this moment extensively with Earth's leaders. The truth would either help or hurt them. They had decided on honesty. "The Taejo is one of 12 experimental battleships currently in service. We also have frigate classes, destroyer classes, and carrier classes. In total, humanity can field approximately 200 warships." The chamber erupted in conversation. 200 ships with technology superior to anything the galaxy had seen? Some species saw opportunity for alliance. Others, like the Kravith, saw only threat. High Admiral Cross saw his chance. 200 warships. And you claim to come in peace? The Council must act now before this threat grows larger. I propose immediate sanctions and containment of human space. I propose the opposite, a new voice said. It came from the Pelthon section. These humans defended themselves when attacked. They showed mercy to their attackers. They come here openly to explain their actions. These are not the behaviors of conquerors. I propose we extend diplomatic recognition to humanity and begin formal relations. The debate raged for hours. Sora answered every question. explained every detail of human culture and history. Dr. Hajin provided biological data, showing that humans were carbon-based and shared many characteristics with other known species. Lieutenant Jiwan stood silently behind Sora, her eyes constantly scanning for threats. Finally, Counselor Thex called for a recess. We will reconvene tomorrow. Ambassador Sora, you and your team may remain on the station as our guests. As they left the chamber, Jiwan moved closer to Sora. Ma'am, I don't trust Cross. He's planning something. I know, Sora said quietly. Keep the team alert. She was right to worry. Deep in the Kravith section of the station, High Admiral Cross met with his senior officers. The room was secured against surveillance. The council is divided, Cross said. Some will vote to welcome the humans. We cannot allow that. If humanity gains allies, they will become unstoppable. What do you propose, Admiral? One of his captains asked. We destroy the Tejo before reinforcements arrive. Without their flagship, the humans will be weakened. The council will see them as vulnerable. Our plan will proceed in 3 days, when their ship is conducting repairs in the neutral zone. But Admiral, attacking in neutral space violates council law. Cross smiled coldly. Only if we get caught. I have already made arrangements to ensure we are not. Back on the Taijo, Chief Engineer Choi Doyen was working on the ship's systems. The brief battle had given him valuable data on how the shields performed under fire. He was making improvements, muttering to himself as he worked. Doyen to bridge, he called out. Captain Hanbin, I'm picking up some strange readings on the gravimetric sensors. Hanbin, who had been reviewing reports, sat up straighter. What kind of readings? Like something big is moving through FTL nearby. Multiple somethings. Could be nothing, could be a fleet on the move. Keep monitoring it, Hanbin ordered, and boost our sensor range. I want to know if anyone's coming before they arrive. He had a bad feeling about this. The council meeting was going reasonably well according to Sora's reports, but that might make their enemies more desperate. On the station, Sora couldn't sleep. She stood in the observation deck of the guest quarters looking out at the stars. Lieutenant Jiwan found her there. Can't sleep either, ma'am, the Marine asked. Too much on my mind, Sora admitted. We're at a crucial moment, Jiwan. What we do in the next few days could determine humanity's future among the stars. Alliance or isolation, peace or war. We'll handle whatever comes, Jiwan said confidently. That's what we do. 2 days later, a small alien trader docked at the station. He was a Telvin, a species known for their neutrality and love of profit. He requested a meeting with the human ambassador, claiming to have important information. Sora met him in a secure room, with Jiwan standing guard. The Telvin's translator made his whistling speech understandable. Ambassador, I risk much by coming to you. But I believe in fair dealing, and what I have learned is not fair. High Admiral Cross has assembled a fleet. 20 warships, including 2 carriers. They plan to ambush your vessel, the Tejo, in 3 days. Sora felt ice in her stomach. Why are you telling me this? Because the Kravith owe me money, and if they start a war, I'll never see it, the trader said bluntly. Also, I saw what your ship did to 3 destroyers. I have no wish to see what it does to 20 ships. The debris field would be bad for business in this sector. After the trader left, Sora immediately sent an encrypted message to the Tejo. Captain Hanbin received it and called his senior staff to the bridge. It seems we have a decision to make, Hanbin said calmly. We can retreat back to Earth and appear weak, or we can stay and face 20-to-1 odds. The Tejo floated quietly in the asteroid field of Sector 7. Captain Hanbin had chosen this position carefully. The massive space rocks would interfere with enemy sensors and provide cover. It would also limit how many ships could attack at once. All stations report ready, Captain, Lieutenant Park Mina said from her station. The young navigation officer had barely slept in 2 days, plotting every possible approach vector the Kravith might use. Chief Engineer Choi Doyen's voice crackled over the intercom. Captain, the reactor is running at peak efficiency. Shield generators are charged. We're as ready as we'll ever be. In the medical bay, Dr. Shin Hyejin checked her supplies one last time. The ship's doctor was 40 years old and had seen combat before, but never anything like this. She had beds prepared for 50 casualties. She prayed she wouldn't need them all. They're coming, Lieutenant Onari announced from weapons control. Her fingers moved across her console, bringing all weapon systems online. I'm detecting FTL signatures. Multiple contacts. 20 ships, just like the intelligence said. Hanbin stood up from his command chair. Here we go. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. The alarm klaxons echoed through the ship. Every crew member moved to their assigned position. In the fighter bay, Commander Ryu Taehyung climbed into his cockpit. The fighter wing leader was 28 and had logged more flight hours than pilots twice his age. His squadron of 12 fighters was humanity's secret weapon. All wings check in, Ryu said over the squadron channel. 11 voices responded, each pilot confirming their fighter was ready. The Kravith fleet dropped out of FTL in perfect formation. 20 warships led by High Admiral Cross's flagship, the Destroyer of Worlds. The name alone showed how the Kravith thought about warfare. There they are, Cross said, looking at the Tejo on his main screen. The human ship sat between two large asteroids, seemingly trapped. Just as predicted. They tried to hide in the rocks. It won't save them. All ships attack formation. Destroy that vessel. A communication request came through to the Tejo. Hanbin nodded to his communication officer, who opened the channel. Cross's face appeared on the screen. Captain Hanbin, you are outnumbered and outgunned. Surrender your ship immediately, and your crew will be treated as prisoners of war. Resist, and we will show no mercy. Hanbin's expression didn't change. Admiral Cross, you are about to make a terrible mistake. Leave now and we will forget this happened. Attack us and I promise you will regret it. Cross laughed. Bold words from a dead man. This is your last chance. No, Hanbin said quietly. This is yours. He cut the channel and turned to his crew. Lieutenant Nari, you may fire when ready. The battle began. The Taejo's main railguns spoke first. 6 massive slugs of metal accelerated to incredible speeds, crossing the distance to the Kravith fleet in seconds. 3 Kravith destroyers exploded immediately, their shields unable to stop the kinetic energy. A 4th ship was hit but survived, tumbling away with its entire front section crushed. First blood to us, Nari reported calmly. The Kravith fleet responded with overwhelming firepower. Plasma bolts, missiles, and energy beams filled space, all converging on the Taejo's position. The human battleship's shields flared bright blue as they absorbed the attacks. Shields holding at 82%, Mina reported. Their weapons are stronger than the border patrols, but not enough to penetrate. Launch fighters, Hanbin ordered. Commander Ryu Taehyung felt his fighter launch from the bay, accelerating to combat speed in seconds. The human fighters were small, barely 20 meters long, but they were fast and heavily armed. They darted through the asteroid field like angry wasps. All wings, engage enemy fighters, Ryu commanded. Protect the ship. The Kravith had launched their own fighter screen over 100 small craft. They swarmed toward the Tejo, firing plasma cannons. They expected an easy victory. They were wrong. The human fighters moved like nothing the Kravith had ever seen. They spun, rolled, and changed direction with impossible speed. Their weapons, rapid-fire plasma cannons combined with micro-missiles, tore through the Kravith fighters like paper. In the first 30 seconds, Ryu's squadron destroyed 18 enemy fighters without taking a single hit. The Kravith pilots were brave but completely outmatched. This is too easy, one of Ryu's wingmen shouted over the channel. Stay focused, Ryu snapped back. Don't get cocky. On the Taejo's bridge, the battle displays showed the tactical situation. The Kravith fleet was trying to surround them, but the asteroid field made it difficult. Chief Engineer Doyen was working magic with the ship's power systems, routing energy wherever it was needed most. Captain, I'm detecting a power buildup on the Kravith flagship, Mina warned. It looks like some kind of heavy weapon. Their main cannon, Nari said, checking her database. It's a plasma lance. Takes time to charge but can punch through heavy armor. Time until they fire? Hanbin asked. 45 seconds. Target that ship. Full spread plasma torpedoes. 6 torpedoes launched from the Tejo, bright blue spheres of contained plasma energy. They weaved through the battlefield, avoiding enemy fire and debris. 4 of them struck Cross's flagship, detonating against its shields. The shields held, but they were weakened. Their lance is still charging, Nari reported. 20 seconds. Railgun maximum power. Single shot. Fire. The Tejo's largest railgun fired. The slug was 3 meters long and weighed 5 tons. It traveled at a significant fraction of light speed. When it hit the flagship's weakened shields, they collapsed instantly. The projectile continued through, striking the ship's main power core. High Admiral Cross had 1 second to realize what was happening before his ship exploded. The Destroyer of Worlds lived up to its name one final time, breaking apart in a massive fireball that damaged two nearby Kravith cruisers. "Flagship destroyed," Mina announced. The Kravith fleet hesitated. Their leader was dead. Their formation was broken. Some captains wanted to retreat. Others wanted revenge. The confusion gave the humans their chance. "All weapons, rapid fire," Hanbin ordered. "Don't give them time to regroup." The Taijo became a storm of death. Railguns fired in sequence, each shot destroying or crippling a Kravith ship. Plasma torpedoes streaked through space, seeking targets. The ship's point defense systems created a wall of fire that destroyed every missile and fighter that came close. Commander Ryu and his squadron pressed their advantage. They destroyed the Kravith carrier's fighter bays, preventing reinforcements from launching. Then they targeted the carrier's engines, leaving the massive ships drifting and helpless. In the medical bay, Dr. Shin worked on the few wounded crew members. The Taigo's shields and armor were holding well, but some sections had taken hits. A young engineering tech had burns on his arms from a power conduit explosion. Shin treated him quickly and efficiently. "You'll be fine," she told him. "Back to your station." The battle lasted for exactly 1 hour and 12 minutes. When it ended, the result was decisive. 12 Kravith ships were destroyed. 6 were crippled and drifting. 2 had managed to escape into FTL, fleeing back to Kravith space. The Taijo had taken damage but remained fully operational. Its shields were down to 30%. Several armor plates were scorched. 1 railgun was offline, but the ship and its crew had survived. "Cease fire," Hanbin ordered. "Mina, scan for survivors." "Captain, we're detecting life signs on several of the damaged Kravith ships," Mina reported. "Their life support is failing." Hanbin didn't hesitate. "Launch rescue shuttles. Bring their survivors aboard. Medical teams to the hangar bays." Lieutenant Onari looked up in surprise. "Sir, we're saving them?" "They're no longer a threat," Hanbin said firmly. "And we're not murderers. We fight when we must, but we don't leave people to die in space." Dr. Shin received the news and immediately mobilized her staff. Within minutes, the first Kravith survivors were being brought into the medical bay. They were terrified, expecting execution or torture. Instead, they found human doctors treating their wounds with care and skill. One of the survivors was High Admiral Cross himself. He had been thrown from the bridge during the explosion, and his escape pod had been recovered. He lay on a medical bed, badly injured but alive. When he woke up, he found Captain Hanbin standing beside him. "Why?" Cross asked through his translator, his voice weak. "Why save us?" "We came to kill you." Hanbin pulled up a chair and sat down. "Because that's who we are, Admiral. Humanity learned a hard lesson on Earth. We learned that endless war only leads to extinction. We learned that mercy is not weakness, it's strength." "Your ship destroyed my fleet," Cross said bitterly. 20 ships against 1 and you won. Your technology is beyond ours. You could conquer the galaxy, we could, Hanbin agreed. But we won't. We've seen what conquest brings. We've lived through the horror of it. We came to the stars to find friends, not enemies. You attacked us and we defended ourselves. That's all. Now the fighting is done. Cross closed his eyes. His entire worldview was shattered. The Kravith Empire had always believed that strength meant domination. But these humans had strength beyond anything he had imagined, and they chose mercy instead. News of the battle spread quickly. On the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Sora received the report and felt relief wash over her. The Taijo had survived. Now came the harder part, turning this military victory into a diplomatic one. 2 months had passed since the Battle of Broken Stars. The Galactic Council was divided into 3 groups, each with different ideas about humanity. Some wanted to be friends with Earth. Others wanted nothing to do with humans. And a third group wanted war before humanity became too powerful to stop. On Earth, the government decided it was time to show more of their strength. 3 more battleships prepared to launch, carrying diplomats, scientists, and soldiers to the council station. General An Jae stood on the bridge of the battleship Sejong, watching Earth grow smaller in the view screen. At 55, he was one of Earth's most respected military commanders. His orders were clear. Protect humanity's interests and be ready for anything, General. We're receiving a transmission from Prime Minister Song, his communication officer reported. The Prime Minister's face appeared on the screen. Song Minji was 48 and had led Earth's unified government for 6 years. She was known for being smart, tough, and fair. General An, you understand your mission? She asked. Yes, Prime Minister. We're to join Captain Hanbin and support Ambassador Sora's diplomatic efforts. And if anyone starts trouble, we end it quickly. Exactly. The Council is unstable right now. Some species see us as future allies. Others see us as a threat. We need to change their minds before things get worse. Understood, ma'am. We won't let you down. The transmission ended and General An turned to his crew. Behind the Sejong, 2 more battleships followed, the Gwanggaeto and the Yulji. Together with the Taizhou, humanity now had 4 of its most powerful ships in Council space. On the Taizhou, Captain Hanbin received word of the reinforcements with mixed feelings. On one hand, having more ships nearby was good. On the other hand, it might make the nervous species even more afraid. Captain, Ambassador Sora is requesting a video conference, Lieutenant Park Mina said. Hanbin nodded and Sora's face appeared on his screen. She was on the Council station and she looked tired. Ambassador, you look like you could use some rest, Hanbin said with concern. I'll rest when this is over, Sora replied. Hanbin, the situation here is getting complicated. The Council is splitting apart. Every day more species pick sides. We need to do something dramatic to bring them back together. What do you have in mind? A technology sharing agreement? We offer to share some of our medical and energy technology with all Council species free of charge. It would show we're serious about cooperation. Hanbin thought about it. That could work. But you know Earth Command won't approve sharing military technology. I'm not asking for that. Just the peaceful applications. Better fusion reactors, advanced medical treatments, water purification systems. Things that help people, not hurt them. I'll pass it up the chain. It's a good idea, Sora. What neither of them knew was that other forces were working against them. In a secret location far from the Council station, representatives from the Kravith Empire met with leaders of the Vrex Dominion. The Vrex were reptilian beings, cold-blooded in both body and spirit. They had built their power through conquest and intimidation. The arrival of humanity threatened their position and they didn't like it. War Master Drethic led the Vrex delegation. He was massive, over 3 meters tall, covered in green scales and old battle scars. His eyes were yellow and calculating. The Kravith Empire proposes an alliance, the Kravith representative said. Together we can stop the human threat before it grows stronger. What do you offer? Drethic asked, his voice a deep rumble. We have intelligence on human ship movements, their diplomatic plans, and their technological capabilities. With this information, we can strike at them effectively. And what do you want in return? After the humans are dealt with, we divide their technology between our empires, and the Vrex Dominion supports Kravith territorial claims in the outer sectors. Drethic's lips pulled back, showing rows of sharp teeth in what passed for a smile among his species. Agreed, but I have a condition. We need to turn the Council against the humans first, make them seem like the aggressors. Then when we strike, we will be seen as defenders, not attackers. The Kravith representative nodded. We have a plan for that. 1 week later, disaster struck. A colony belonging to the Pelthan Collective was attacked. The settlement was home to 50,000 civilians, mostly farmers and their families. The attack was brutal and swift. Ships appeared without warning, destroyed the colony's defenses, and bombed several population centers before disappearing. The attackers left behind evidence, pieces of wreckage with human technology markers, communication logs that seemed to show human military codes, and even a damaged fighter with Earth military symbols. Councillor Thex brought the evidence before the full council. His insect-like face showed no emotion, but his voice was heavy with sadness and anger. 23,000 of my people are dead. The evidence shows humans were responsible. I demand an explanation from Ambassador Sora. Sora stood before the council, her mind racing. She knew immediately that something was wrong. Earth would never attack a civilian colony. This was a setup, Councillor Thex. I grieve for your loss, but I swear to you, humanity did not do this. We would never attack civilians. This evidence must be falsified. The evidence is clear, a Kravith councillor shouted. Human weapons, human codes, human ships. Are you calling us liars? I'm saying someone wants you to think we did this, Sora replied firmly. Give us time to investigate. Let our experts examine the evidence. The council erupted in arguments. Some believed Sora. Others were convinced humans were showing their true nature. The unity that had been building was shattered. On the Taiho, Lieutenant Park Mina worked frantically at her station. She had received copies of the evidence and something didn't feel right about it. The codes were almost correct, but not quite. The technology markers were too obvious, as if someone wanted them to be found. "Captain, I think I found something," Mina said. "These communication logs, they're using an older encryption standard. We stopped using this version 8 months ago. Anyone trying to fake our codes wouldn't know that." Chief Engineer Choi Doyen examined the wreckage images. "And this fighter design is wrong. The power coupling is in the wrong place. Whoever built this made a copy based on external observations, but they didn't know our internal layout. It's a frame job," Hanbin concluded. "Someone attacked the Pelthon colony and made it look like we did it." "Mina, can you trace where the fake evidence came from?" "I can try, Captain. But it's going to take time." Time was something they didn't have. War sentiment was spreading across the galaxy. Species that had been neutral were now turning against humanity. Even some of the ones who wanted to be friends were having second thoughts. Lieutenant Kim Ji-won doubled the guard around Ambassador Sora. The Marine commander could feel the hostility growing on the station. Other species' security forces watched the humans with suspicion and anger. Dr. Yoon Ha-jin tried to help by reaching out to scientists from other species, but many refused to meet with him. The xenobiologist was heartbroken. He had dreamed of friendship between species, and instead, he was watching everything fall apart. General An Jae arrived with his 3 battleships and immediately met with Captain Hanbin via secure channel. "Captain, Earth Command wants to know if we should withdraw," An said. "If we leave now, everyone will assume we're guilty," Hanbin replied. "We need to stay and prove our innocence. That could be dangerous. If the Council turns fully against us, we could be looking at a war with dozens of species. Then we need to find proof of who really attacked that colony. And we need to find it fast." Lieutenant Mina worked for 3 days straight, barely sleeping. She tracked data flows, analyzed communication patterns, and traced every piece of evidence back to its source. Finally, she found what she was looking for. "Captain, I've got it," she called out excitedly. "The fake evidence came from a Vrex military network. And I found something else. There's encrypted communication between Vrex War Master Drethik and Kravith Military Command. They planned the whole thing together. Can you decrypt those communications?" Hanbin asked. "Already done, sir. They're discussing the attack on the Pelthon colony. They talk about framing humanity, and then launching a full-scale assault on human-allied worlds. Captain, they're planning to start a war." Hanbin felt cold certainty settle in his chest. "How long until they strike?" Mina pulled up more data. "According to this, they've assembled a combined fleet of over 200 ships. They're gathering in Vrex space right now. Based on their logistics, they'll be ready to attack in 48 hours. Get this information to Ambassador Sora immediately, and send an emergency transmission to Earth. Tell them we need everyone. We're looking at a full-scale galactic war." On the Council station, Sora received Mina's evidence and immediately demanded an emergency session. Not all the counselors believed her at first, but the data was solid. The encryption keys matched Vrex military standards. The communication patterns were consistent with Vrex command structures. Counselor Thex examined the evidence carefully. "This appears genuine. If true, it means the Vrex and Kravith conspired to start a war." "It's true," Sora said. "And they're not just planning to attack us. According to the intercepted communications, they plan to attack anyone who supports humanity. That includes the Pelthon Collective, the Telvan traders." Earth's response was immediate and overwhelming. The 8 battleships that Prime Minister Song promised were just the beginning. From hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt and the moons of Jupiter, humanity's true fleet emerged. Fleet Admiral Baek Yuna commanded the Earth forces from her flagship, the battleship Gwangjong. At 62, she was the most experienced military commander humanity had ever produced. She had fought in every major conflict of the corporate wars and designed half of Earth's naval doctrine. "Fleet status?" she asked as her ships assembled in formation. "All 12 battleships are operational, Admiral," her tactical officer reported. "We also have 8 heavy cruisers, 15 destroyers, 6 carrier groups with 300 fighters and 40 support vessels. Total of 81 ships." Beck nodded with satisfaction. Combined with the Council fleet of 62 ships, they would field 143 vessels against the Vrex Kravith Alliance's 200. Still outnumbered, but not impossible odds. Set course for Vrex space. Maximum speed. Captain Nam Siwoo of the battleship Sejong watched the fleet move through FTL with pride. He was 58 and had been Hanbin's mentor during their early years in the Navy. Now they would fight together in the most important battle either had ever faced. Nam to Hanbin, he transmitted on a secure channel. Your old teacher is here to get you out of trouble again. On the Taijo's bridge, Hanbin smiled when he heard the familiar voice. About time you showed up. I was starting to think you'd retire, and miss all the fun? Never. The combined human council fleet dropped out of FTL at the edge of Rex space. Ahead of them, sensor readings showed the massive enemy fleet exactly where Lieutenant Mina's intelligence said it would be. 208 warships arranged in 3 battle groups around the Vrex homeworld. But something unexpected appeared on the sensors. A massive energy signature unlike anything they had recorded before. It was coming from deep space beyond the Vrex fleet. What is that? Admiral Beck demanded. Dr. Yoon Hajin, who had been allowed on the Guangzhong's bridge to observe, studied the readings. Admiral, those energy patterns don't match any known technology. They're not Vrex, not Kravith, not even close to anything in the galactic database. Before anyone could respond, space itself seemed to tear open. A structure materialized, ancient and enormous. It was a perfect sphere, 10 kilometers in diameter, made of material that looked like crystallized starlight. A voice spoke in every ship simultaneously. It bypassed communication systems and spoke directly into the minds of every crew member. The voice was old, impossibly old, but also somehow neutral and calm. I am the Arbiter. I have watched this galaxy for 1 million years. I have remained silent and dormant, but I cannot allow this war to proceed. On the Vrex flagship, War Master Drethik stared at the sphere in shock and fear. His species had legends about ancient guardians, beings of immense power who maintained balance in the universe. He had always thought they were myths. Who are you? Drethik demanded. I am what remains of the precursors, the first civilization in this galaxy. My creators built me to prevent extinction-level conflicts. This war you plan would kill billions and destabilize the galactic order. It cannot be allowed. The Arbiter transmitted data to every ship. It showed genetic analyses, archaeological records, and historical data spanning millions of years. The information was overwhelming and undeniable. Humanity was the direct genetic descendant of the precursors. Millions of years ago, the precursors had seeded life across the galaxy, including on Earth. Most species were experiments, variations on their genetic template. But humanity carried the purest genetic match to the original precursor species. The revelation shocked the galaxy. Humans, the newcomers everyone had underestimated, were actually the inheritors of the most advanced civilization ever known. This changes nothing, Drethik roared. He had come too far to back down now. All ships attack the human fleet. For the glory of the Vrex Dominion, the Vrex Kravith fleet opened fire. Plasma bolts, missiles, and energy beams filled space. The Battle of Vrex Prime had begun. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Admiral Beck commanded. Implement Protocol Tsunami. The human fleet seemed to explode outward. Instead of maintaining tight formations, every ship moved independently, following pre-programmed patterns that made them almost impossible to target. Thousands of drones and fighters launched, creating a swarm that confused enemy sensors. The Council ships followed the human lead, breaking into smaller groups that attacked from multiple angles. The Vrex fleet suddenly found itself fighting dozens of small battles instead of one large one. Commander Ryu Taehyung led his fighter wing straight into the enemy formation. His squadron had grown to 30 fighters, all piloted by humanity's best. They moved like a school of fish, perfectly coordinated, each pilot anticipating the other's movements. Target their carriers first, Ryu commanded. Cut off their fighter reinforcements. The human fighters were faster, more agile, and better armed than anything the Vrex had. Within 10 minutes, 2 of the 3 Vrex carriers were burning wrecks. The third tried to retreat but was intercepted by the battleship Ulji and destroyed. On the Taejo, Captain Hanbin directed his ship through the chaos with calm precision. Lieutenant Park Mina fed him tactical data faster than any AI could process. Chief Engineer Choi kept the reactor running at peak efficiency despite damage reports coming in from all sections. Captain, the Vrex flagship is trying to break through to attack the Council ships, Lieutenant Onari reported. Intercept course. All weapons, concentrate fire on that ship. I want War Master Drethik alive if possible, but stop that ship no matter what. The Taejo moved to block the Vrex flagship. The 2 massive ships exchanged fire at close range. The Taejo's shields held while the Vrex ship's shields collapsed after the 3rd volley. But Drethik wasn't finished. He ordered his ship to ram the Taejo, hoping to damage both vessels. Brace for impact, Hanbin shouted. The collision never came. Captain Nam Siwoo's battleship Sejong appeared between the two ships and fired its tractor beams, catching the Vrex flagship and stopping its momentum. "Nobody rams my former student." Nam's voice came over the channel. "Hanbin, I've got him held. You want to do the honors?" "With pleasure." The Taejo fired precision shots that disabled the Vrex flagship's weapons and engines without destroying the ship. Drethik and his crew were trapped. Admiral Beck coordinated the larger battle from her command ship. Her tactical mind was working at full capacity, moving ships like pieces on a chessboard. She predicted enemy movements and countered them before they could develop. All battleships focus fire on the Kravith heavy cruisers. Council ships sweep their destroyer screen. Fighters continue harassment of their capital ships. The battle lasted for 4 hours. It was brutal, violent, and decisive. The human council fleet suffered losses. 2 human destroyers were destroyed. 3 council ships were heavily damaged. Hundreds of fighters on both sides were lost. But the Vrex-Kravith alliance was shattered. 67 of their ships were destroyed. 43 were crippled. The rest scattered and retreated. War Master Drethik was captured, along with many of his senior officers. The cost was high, but the victory was complete. In the aftermath, trials were held aboard the council station. War Master Drethik and the Kravith commanders who had conspired with him were charged with war crimes. The evidence was overwhelming. They were found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment. The Arbiter remained near council space for several weeks, sharing more information about the precursors and humanity's connection to them. It explained that the precursors had designed humanity to be adaptable, creative, and capable of both great violence and great compassion. They were meant to be a balancing force in the galaxy. But remember, the Arbiter warned, great power brings great responsibility. The precursors destroyed themselves through war. You must not repeat their mistake. 3 months after the battle, the Galactic Council held a ceremony. A new treaty was signed, establishing formal diplomatic relations between Earth and the Council. Humanity was recognized as a major power with all the rights and responsibilities that came with it. Ambassador Kang Sora stood before the Council, now wearing the insignia of Earth's first galactic ambassador. "On behalf of humanity, I accept this honor. We promise to work for peace, to share our knowledge, and to protect the innocent. We will not seek to dominate, but we will defend ourselves and our allies." The Council voted to create the Terran Embassy, a permanent human presence on the station. Other species began requesting technology sharing agreements. Trade deals were signed. Cultural exchange programs were established. On the Taejo, life slowly returned to normal. The ship was repaired and upgraded. Captain Hanbin stood on his bridge looking out at the stars as he had done 1,000 times before. But now everything was different. Lieutenant Park Mina approached him with a data pad. "Captain, we have new orders from Earth Command." "What are they?" "We're being assigned to deep space exploration. They want us to investigate the outer regions beyond Council space, looking for more precursor technology and making contact with other unknown species." Hanbin smiled. "That's what we came out here for in the first place. Exploration, discovery, making friends. Though we made some friends the hard way,